Hello everybody, I am Deadponic. Hopefully y'all are doing good. Wow, I just said y'all and I'm a Canadian. What a world we live in. Anyway, this video is going to be about things that I absolutely refuse to do as a Survivor player in Dead by Daylight. If you guys are interested in me doing a similar video but for Killer, let me know. Anyway, let's get started. So, I'm doing this in no particular order. I've kind of come up with 10 things that are general rules of thumb for me personally. So I'll start off with my number one, which is I don't conform to quote unquote the meta. I feel like having a meta in a game like this is just silly, and people should be able to pick whatever perks or whatever survivor or killer you want. And yeah, and I really don't like when people say, oh, you gotta use Dead Hard, you gotta use Decisive Strike, you gotta use all these meta perks. And it's like, no, I don't have to do anything. I tend to use perks like Self-Care, but that's because I don't like using a med kit, because it just makes me a bigger target, and plus you could run out of charges on it. And also I don't want to tilt the killer, because I know that there's gonna be people who get really tilted when people use Dead Hard or Sprint Burst or Decisive Strike or any of those other perks. Now I do have some perks that I absolutely have to use, because otherwise I feel like I'm gonna lose the game. But it doesn't. I can adapt. I can think on the fly, so it's not a big deal for me. So the second big one is I don't use flashlights at all. I despise flashlights as an item. I'm fine with having perks that allow you to save yourself when you're downed or picked up, which in this day and age is becoming more common actually. But having something that just randomly comes up to me as I pick up a survivor and shining a flashlight in my face multiple times, by the way, and this has happened to me, by the way, it can be very annoying. It's absolutely infuriating. And that's why Lightborn exists, thank God. And also, Franco's Demise exists. Now, someone will be quick to call me a hypocrite because in one of my gameplay videos, I ran with a flashlight. The thing is that I was pressing my luck and I never actually used it on the killer. I just wanted to see if I could get away with it. Alright, so next one is, it's just a simple one. I try to go for safe unhooks as much as I can. A risky unhook, in my opinion, just puts you in the killer's melee or power range. It just doesn't, it's just not worth it, in my opinion. Now this next one, kind of flies in the face of that a little bit, but I try to be a team player as much as I can. I don't go for the lone wolf stuff. I will, I'll heal somebody, I'll work on generators with other people, and maybe, just maybe, play the decoy if the situation requires it. But if another survivor is intentionally trying to screw me over, there's no point in trying to save them, in my opinion. My next one is that when I'm in the middle of a chase, or I'm being chased specifically, I won't resort to dirty tactics or taunts. I may try and go for the occasional duke, where I'll do a spin and try to avoid the killer's attack, but most of the time it doesn't work, which I'm fine with. On the occasions that it does work, it's pretty satisfying. But this kind of also ties into the flashlight point. But when I used to play killer, I found that a lot of survivor players deliberately wait for me to come near the pallet so that they can drop it on me. Now, keeping in mind that I have no problem with dropping pallets in a chase, but deliberately waiting for the killer to come close is a dirty tactic, and I refuse to do that. So this is this is one of the big ones here, but my next one is I don't resort to toxic comments in the endgame chat. The reason for this is because I play the console version. And if someone wants to scream toxic words in my face, that's what the message feature on PSN is for. I also find that the PC version is a little too wonky for me personally, mainly because I don't have a computer strong enough to reasonably play it. Alright, so now we're getting to the big one. Let's talk about exit gates. So, exit gate. As you know, many of you who probably already know, the objective of Dead by Daylight is to fix 5 generators, power up an exit, and escape. All the while, a psychopath is trying to sacrifice you to the entity by placing you on meat hooks or bashing your face in. This game is generally referred to as asymmetrical, meaning that one side is always outnumbered. In this case, the killer is outnumbered 4 to 1. But the side that is outnumbered always has a way to even the odds. In Dead by Daylight's case, the killer is the only one who has an offensive action, and depending on the killer, their power either disrupts survivor actions, looking at you, Doctor, that gives them a boost of some kind, which would be Hillbilly, Blight, or some level of, like, traversal, or a power of some kind to aid in catching said survivors, or is based on doing damage of some kind. So, once all 5 generators are fixed, the exit gates become available to open. And keep in mind, you're on the clock, because the killer can see where the exit gates are at all times. And you have to hope that he doesn't come to the exit gate you're at. But what a lot of players like to do is what is known as 99%ing, where they power up the exit gate until it only has 1 second left on the bar. And the killer comes in the direction, they 100%, door opens, and they escape. It's kind of a clutch move, but I absolutely don't like that. And what I do is, I tend to avoid that as much as I can when I'm powering up the exit gate. I go all the way. But what is even worse is that there are survivors who intentionally stay behind when the exit gate is opened and the endgame collapse is triggered, and they specifically stay behind to teabag the killer, as if they're giving a proverbial fuck you to said killer. All the while, the clock is slowly ticking down. For me, once all 5 gens are done, I'm going to the exit gate, and I 100% that thing, and I don't care. And I'm out of there as soon as that gate is open. I don't screw around. And this mindset has some drawbacks, though. Because opening the exit gate does trigger the endgame collapse. It also means anybody looking for the hatch is basically screwed if they can't find it. There is a silver lining to this, though, because there are several killers that can take advantage of players teabagging at the exit. The big ones being the Huntress and the Death Slinger. Now, granted, you have to catch the survivor off guard and have to be good with your aim, but it can be very satisfying when you know that they're going to be screaming at the top of their lungs, which are calling you a script kiddie hacker, as you're carrying them to the hook. Or, they just decide to strike you and get away. It's an absolute coin flip. Now, most people would say that this mindset of basically only playing the objective and not being a team player is toxic and goes against the gamer code in some way. But my counter argument is that once those gens are done, it's everybody for themselves. I know there's going to be one person who stays behind teabags. So, if there's an opportunity to give the killer a small chance to catch them, I'll take it. I would also say leaving a hook survivor to die is one of the biggest dick moves you can do in this game, because it puts you at a disadvantage, because now you go from either 4 to 1, 3 to 1, or 2 to 1, unless the killer is camping you or you couldn't get there in time. That's kind of understandable. Then I would maybe let that slide, but that's a video for another time. But keep in mind, I'm also a team player when I have to be. So that's my big one. That's the big one that I wanted to talk about. The next one I have is, I don't really care about my rank placement, and I don't think it really pertains to skill level, because I've gotten to high ranks simply off of grit and luck, or just depending on the skill of the killer, or just pure luck. And unlike most of the streamers who play DBD, where they have to maintain their skill level and rank to impress their audience, I could not care less about that, because keep in mind that this game isn't registered as an esport, and there are some people who just really just do not seem to get that point about that. It doesn't matter what your rank is. Everybody is on a fair level. It all depends what you're bringing to the table. Alright, so my second last point is, once I'm off that hook, I try to get as far away from the area as I can and then focus on healing myself. This one is kind of self-explanatory, but either through instinct or some level of knowing that the killer is going to be in the area, or just having played the game for such a long time, I always place getting myself as far away and healing above doing an objective. So, and this may be seen as kind of selfish, but surviving is one of the priorities I have above trolling the killer or, being a pain in the rear. And also, it's not advantageous to try to fix a generator when you're injured, because you create noise, and the killer could easily track you via that noise. So it's always important to, get away, heal yourself, and then go fix the objective. So the last one I have is another big one, and one I've seen quite a few times, but I don't rage quit when I'm at a disadvantage or being tunneled or camped or whatever. This kind of goes without saying, but rage quitting, especially in this game or any other game, is not cool. It's not a pro gamer move. It's nothing like that. Now, if the killer is tunneling, then you have every reason to be upset. That's fine. If they're camping, you have every reason to be upset as well. But the way the game works now is if someone quits in the middle of the match, they get penalized with a wait time before you can queue up again. It wasn't like that before. And now this new system we have, I'm perfectly fine with. There was a recent update that I read about that prevents killers from absolutely face camping when you're on the hook. It doesn't solve some of the fundamental problems that the game has, but it's a step in the right direction. Alright, so that's my list of all the things that I refuse to do as a Survivor player. Now, I kind of go back and forth between, killer and Survivor, but I'm mostly stuck with playing Survivor for the time being because, I don't know, I just like the thrill of it. But thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you guys have kind of learned something and, learned something about my personality and how I tend to play some of these games. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Later, Gator.